I told Dabo before the game, I thought the atmosphere was incredible. It reminded me of a playoff or a conference championship type atmosphere because it just felt that way. It was electric at the hotel, the drive-in. It was special. I mean, to me, you could say it was a lot like an SEC football game, but it wasn't like one last year because none of them were quite like that.
Coach, what I'm hearing from you is it just sounds like UCLA was tougher tonight.
I'm not saying that.
I basically said that we'd tried every way known to man to lose it. Just for fun, let's try something different. Let's go ahead and do our job. Let's go ahead and make it look like Wednesday's practice because we've got nothing to lose.
So it was good to go through adversity, and same defensively. Well, not really. That just pisses me off. Yeah.
Obviously, you thought Blaise Aldridge could come in and help based on what you saw in his film at Rice. Did you expect him to make this kind of impact this quickly?
You seen his hair? If you're going to wear hair like that, you better be a player. So, yeah, I kind of expected it.
Do I have a quarterback controversy?
I would never ask myself that because I coach the quarterbacks a bunch. They're not very controversial guys. They're both really nice guys. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, just wrapping up all this coverage here. I spent all Sunday here watching these press conferences, rewatching these football games. And I'm not complaining, Shane, but there's almost too much football to recap on this episode. How you doing, brother?
Well, I'll tell you right here, Mike, this was a fantastic weekend. I mean, when the Vols win, my $100 lock of the week, just a little peek behind the curtains, Mike. I was freaking out over the Arkansas game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you knew it. And, I do what every gambler does is I double down on something else. It's the only way I can get my money back. So I'm watching this Alabama game. I'm like, God, these guys are going to put 50 points on Miami. So I jumped on there real quick. It was a 26 spread, and I put $100 on Alabama. So I was trying to bet my way back into this thing. Ended up getting both locks of the week. I'm telling you what, buddy, I'm on fire.
Yeah, the only thing that had me down, Shane, then we'll get right into the action, I promise, but how many damn times do I got to listen to this Applebee's jingle?
Yeah, we fancy like Applebee's. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Ooh, buddy, I hope Applebee's learns and ceases and desists with this. I don't know if I could last the whole season of this damn commercial. When you got 4 TVs on, it's even worse. Believe me, I must have heard this thing about 50 times this weekend.
You know what else is pretty bad? I don't know if you realize it now that we're talking about it. Was this damn Dr. Pepper Heisman House thing? I mean, how many times you got to buy these guys Pathfinder? And it's like you're looking at it, and it's not even a good commercial. It's like some of the Heisman House commercials are fantastic, but this one was not. Then you have the Dr. Pepper Fansville commercial going on. So yeah, I could see it because as you could say, we were watching 12 games yesterday or Saturday, and man, it was a little too much commercial content for my liking.
Well, that's a perfect place to start, Shane, because I think old Dr. Pepper needs a refund from the Clemson quarterback because his ass got swarmed by the Georgia Bulldogs here on Saturday night, the big showcase game. Didn't quite live up to the hype if you're talking fun and entertainment, unless you're just, of course, Georgia fans loved it. Defensive football coaches love it because the Bulldogs won 10-3. The under, solid bet there. The over-under was around 50-something, only 13 points, and not even an offensive touchdown scored in the game. But, this is a tone setter, Shane, because I think the Georgia Bulldogs offense, they're never going to play as poorly as they did. And I don't even want to say they played too poorly. I know JT Daniels had the one interception that was pretty bad, but to me, this just seemed like I think Georgia was trying to prevent Clemson from doing what they were doing to Clemson, which is essentially just rattling the quarterback and making him miserable and hitting him on every play. And the Bulldogs racked up, 7 sacks on the game, and that's where the game was won. And that's something everybody had talked up leading into it, was this, which offensive line was going to man up, and it was the Georgia Bulldogs. And that Clemson quarterback just did not live up to the hype, did he?
But I'm going to tell you, Mike, the biggest thing for me that I don't know about you, but it felt like the offense was playing scared. Like they were afraid they were going to throw a turnover. They were afraid to take any downfield shots. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, it worked with this Clemson game, but it easily could have gone the other way, Mike. It easily could have been one explosive play because Clemson sure the hell was trying. They were trying to go deep. And if they could have overcame that and beat the Bulldogs, we'd be sitting here right now talking about Kirby Smart and the decision-making that they had coming into this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, because Georgia basically dominated the entire thing, yet Clemson had an opportunity, I believe it was right before half to get in the end zone, right at, near the end of the game to get into the end zone. So, it certainly would have been a different story, and the narrative would have been, like you were saying, I mean, Kirby throttling back his offense, but I just don't think they wanted to get JT Daniels killed. And I think that, I don't want to say lack of confidence, but just, when your number one target was Brock Bowers, a freshman tight end, I think that kind of gives you an indication of what they were thinking of what they had with their receivers, with guys not in the lineup, guys banged up, guys coming back from injury. So, and again, I think after a little while, it just seemed like the game plan early on was to get the ball out of JT Daniels' hands quickly, so he doesn't get clobbered. And I think they just stuck with that because they saw that Clemson was not going to threaten this defense. I mean, they were just muddy on the day. You know what?
Yeah. Well, I think what pisses me off, like what it boils down to, Mike, is at the end of this game, I'm listening to them say, well, if they could get past North Carolina State and Syracuse, then they're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, that's the problem, Mike. You left the door open with no offensive production. And I think if Georgia would have done what they were doing last season and just let JT play some damn football, I think this would have been an uglier game. And I think we could have closed the door permanently on an ACC, team being in the playoff. But we left it wide open, man. They're going to face it. They were telling you at the end of this thing, pretty much, expect Clemson to get another shot. And I hate that.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's kick it over to Kirby Shade, who talked about the defense's dominant performance here on the offense, never really getting its footing in this matchup. And then kind of the highlight here, him jumping on the bench and celebrating with the fans.
I didn't know teams were allowed to have 10-3 games anymore, but just from part of the job that the defensive front did tonight, that front seven, I know you knew they were going to be good going into the year, but did you ever anticipate what you saw tonight?
Well, I knew we'd be pretty good, and we're pretty deep. I'm proud of them. It just seems like we're more athletic up there than we've been in the past, and there's a lot of speed on the field. I mean, when we do plays against the scout team, and Trevon and Adam are chasing plays down, I mean, they're fast, and they can run. And Dan did a great job calling the game tonight. Defensive staff did an incredible job with the game plan. The kids were into the game, and I think we frustrated them and confused them. And once we didn't do real well offensively either, but we did have some moments where we could run the ball. They struggled to do that.
Yeah, Coach, talking about that pressure on the quarterback, clearly that was something you guys wanted to do. I think 6 different players might have gotten 7 sacks. I mean, did you feel like that was a form of strategy that you were able to do it, or was it overpowering? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have to watch the tape to see. I mean, I felt like we won some one-on-ones where we didn't even have 4 people rushing. Sometimes you affect the quarterback, and sometimes you sack him. Well, we did get some sacks, but some of those were covered sacks. He held the ball, and I think he got confused and he got frustrated. So do we have an elite pass rush? I don't know that yet. Can we affect quarterbacks? Absolutely. We can affect the quarterback and be disruptive if we tackle well on the perimeter and make space plays, and that's our guys played really well and tackled well, I thought, tonight.
what was that feeling like with just a back and forth struggle, and just never could get sort of the kill shot in?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It felt like we kept letting them hang around, right? But all we talked about was playing for each other, connection, resiliency, and we preached so much composure and attention to detail all week. And I was just so proud because they could have. I mean, they got some momentum, right? In the second half, they went down. That red area stop was humongous to hold them to 3. And that was a big stop by the defense. Some things went bad. They double moved us, but nobody ever panicked. And that's usually the sign of a good character team, especially when you're playing a really good team. And Clemson's a good football team, and just really proud that they never folded. They fought for each other.
And also, when was the last time you jumped up on a bench after the game to cheer with the crowd?
I was nervous about that jump, Jeff. I said, if I slip, this will be on every camera in America, and it'll be on ESPN top 10 or not top 10. I thought that went through my mind. But I was happy, and I felt like our fans didn't get the love they needed. Our players sprinted into the locker room, and I wanted to show them some attention with it.
All right, Shade. So, I mean, here we had a heavyweight showdown. Felt like, a playoff type atmosphere for week 1, and love to see that Kirby is recognizing the fans. I don't know if you saw the, immediately after on the field, the post game, he took a lot of pride in the fact that they went into ACC country where they hold the SEC championship game and whoop the Tigers. So, it's not often we see this side of Kirby. So I just thought this was pretty great.
Yeah, man, this is good. That's what it's about, Mike. I think when you look at the entire Saturday schedule, and I'm flipping through game after game, it was just the fans, just the getting to get out there. Watching the Georgia game, yeah, it was majority Clemson there, but it seemed at times that Georgia was the loudest fan base that was present. We coming from a year where we had to have these cardboard clip outs of fans we don't have that. It was actual fans there. It was just, I don't know. It was awesome. And it was a big weekend for the SEC, short of, Vanderbilt, which we'll get to, but everybody won, and hopefully Ole Miss does the same. And these fans got to experience that. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and only downside real quick here for Georgia. They just announced this on Sunday. Tate Ratledge, starting offensive lineman. Looks like he's done for the year, foot injury. So that's tough news for the Bulldogs. All right, Shay, next.
So, tough news for the barber. Did you see his hairdo? No, I mean, how long is this mullet thing going to last, Some people can pull it off. Tate couldn't. No, sorry.
All right, Shane, next let's kick it old day to Atlanta where the Alabama Crimson Tide, oh my God, we talked about what a mismatch we thought this was leading up to the game, and it proved to be just that. The Crimson Tide win 44-13 over Miami, and man, I swear, like, I missed the first touchdown of this game. They were in another game, and I felt like by the time I turned on to it, I felt like the game was over. I mean, Miami just – I don't want to, I'm not trying to take away credit from Alabama because it looked like Miami was horrible. And I don't necessarily think Miami is horrible. I think Alabama made them look horrible. And that's the key takeaway for me. I mean, Alabama, right out the gate, most complete team in the nation. Bryce Young. My main takeaway with him is he just seems like he's in total command, which was incredibly impressive considering it was his first start going up against Manny Diaz. It didn't look like Miami had a lot of real difference makers on that defense, but maybe that's just because the new offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, was just dialing up some magic. But Miami had no answers, and then the quarterback for Miami, Derek King, all the hype. God, he never stood a hope and prayer in this one. You know what?
And man, I tell you, that meme hit the nail on the head, man. When what's his name, Pinkleton or whatever, off Breaking Bad, he's talking about Alabama losing all this talent on both sides of the ball, and then the next year they just reload, and he's just yelling, "They can't keep doing this. They can't keep getting away with it," So. I thought that was awesome because it was true, man. You want to talk about all the teams that played. Dude, Alabama came out with them like on a mission. I can't. I'm sitting there, my mouth's just open. I just cannot believe how talented, because I think Miami is a good team. I'm watching them. I mean, they've got some athletes on there. But the things that Bryce was able to do to escape pressure that they kept dialing up and find an open receiver down the field, always looking. I mean, if you ain't got money on Bryce winning the Heisman now, you better stop what you're doing right now and load up, because those odds are about to get even crazier the more teams that they play. I'm telling you, I've never seen a quarterback like this since Tebow, Mike. That's just where I'm at right now. I tried to give JT the credit at the start of the season. Nope. There's a reason that Bryce makes more money than Nick Saban down there in Tuscaloosa. It's because he is the best quarterback in the country right now. And another thing too, Mike, I got to ask you. All right. When do you stop putting the chain on? You know, is it when you're down 4 scores? I mean, I was almost like it was embarrassing to put that thing on. I felt bad for him.
I don't know if you saw it, Shane, but there was I can't recall who shared it. I apologize, but there was apparently a Miami fan that was leaving the game, got his turnover chain confiscated at the airport. So Miami taking them L's all the way to Sunday here in Atlanta. But yeah, the turnover chain did not need to come out when you're getting your ass whooped. I believe it was 27-0 or 27-3 when that chain made its first appearance. So maybe it's got to be a 1-score game if you're going to break that bad boy out. You know what?
Dude, what are you going to do with Alabama, man? The defense is stacked and loaded. They came out. They look great. Plenty of pressure. Now, there was some injuries that came out. I did see that. You got any news on that side?
Yeah, Saban says Chris Allen, the outside linebacker, probably out for the season. That's terrible. Henry T, a little banged up, but they said he'll be fine. I believe Chris Allen is going to be the only one at this point that they think is a significant injury, but that's a blow. He's a starter. But Alabama, I mean, they're so loaded at linebacker, you know, that's not going to be a devastating injury as much as you hate to hear a player of that caliber out for the season. You know what?
Right.
And you know, another thing for me was just John Mechie. You know, we kind of knew what we were getting in him. He's, you know, the number one now at receiver, Alabama. You know, we go on and on about their quarterbacks, but the receivers, it just seems like they got a factory down there with that. And then how in the hell did this Jamison Williams not get any reps at Ohio State? Now he looks like he may be Alabama's number 2 best receiver, maybe even their best one. And that was particularly devastating when they stuffed Miami on 4th and goal, and then they turn around a couple plays later and connect Bryce Young to Williams for a 94-yard touchdown. And the game was already over before that, but that was the backbreaker there early in the third. You know what?
Oh, man. The backbreaker is when they won the coin toss, Mike. You know? This thing, Miami didn't have a shot, man. I think Mike Irvin snuck out there in the second quarter, all them Miami fans. So I kind of felt bad for him, but this was a typical game, a season opener that we're used to with Nick Saban. We thought we joked that it's going to have kind of that UCLA or USC vibe from a few years ago, and that's exactly what happened. This thing was never a ball game.
Yeah, Coach, a little bit more about Bryce Sanders' performance, first career start. I think he had 9 different targets, and how he looked back there to you.
Oh, I think Bryce did really, really well. You know, he's smart. I think most people just look at the stats and say he was whatever he was for this many yards. But, you know, he redirects the protection. He plays like a veteran out there. And, you know, we had the one, sack fumble, which, is something that we don't really want to have, but really not all his fault that he doesn't get protected. But I was really impressed with the way he played in the game, the poise that he played with, the command that he had. He kind of took what the defense gave and really directed the offense in a really positive way. And when we had opportunities to make plays on third down and a couple other explosive plays, he certainly did a great job of getting the ball to the right guy in the right time in the right place. So I was really pleased.
Yeah, Nick, follow up on the offense. Earlier in the week, you referred to the offense as a work in progress. Did you feel like tonight reflected that, or was this maybe better than you expected?
No, I was very pleased with, when you have that many guys that haven't played that much, new quarterback, and all that. You really never know quite for sure how they're going to respond in a competitive situation, but I thought they did a great job in the game, and I was very encouraged.
It wasn't all good news, though, for the SEC, so we got to kick it down to UCLA, where in the Rose Bowl here, man, this was the biggest shocker for me in the entire SEC week one right out the gate. It looked like the same old LSU defense to me, because UCLA had their way with Coach O's program here, 38-27, and I mean the second half just dominated by UCLA. Yeah. So many miscues for LSU in this one. I mean, Max Johnson, he was, I don't want to put it all on him, but a lot of his passes were off the mark, I thought, in this game. That behind the back pass was incredibly stupid. They got to get that out of him. But I think the most disturbing thing in this whole thing, Shane, is Coach O. I'm not throwing him on the hot seat like I've seen so many people do here, but when you think of Coach O, you think of tough, physical, line of scrimmage play, and UCLA just dominated on the line of scrimmage. We heard so much hype about the LSU defensive line, and that's why everybody was saying in camp that the offensive line was getting manhandled. You thought it was because this defensive line was so spectacular, but hell, maybe the defensive line isn't even that good, and the offensive line is pathetic, because that's kind of what it looked like here against UCLA. What are your takeaway from this one?
Yeah, for starters, I want to apologize for Vandy fans because I singled them out. I forgot that LSU. I almost wanted. You want to talk about annoying? Here, I kept hearing that bell ringing when I was going to bed that night. It's like I felt like I was still out there in that damn Rose Bowl. But this game had me frustrated from the beginning, and it's like you said, this isn't the LSU team that we're used to, that we grew up watching, the tough defenses, the ability to run on anybody. It felt like they just had the trenches, man. They just had no help. There was nothing. And it felt like that's kind of why Max Johnson got in this shootout, because he felt like it was all him. Like him and Butte, they're the only ones that are out there that are going to make this thing happen. And unfortunately, they just couldn't get it. They just couldn't get it.
No, and we do. Let's give a shout out to Keyshawn Butte, because he was outstanding. He looked like the All-American that he is. 9 catches, 148, 3 touchdowns. He did have a drop that was kind of big in the game, but hell, when he gets you 3 touchdowns, you give him a little leeway for a drop here or there. But that's about all. I mean, Elias Ricks, he had a really nice interception. Stingley made some good plays, but I just go back to this defense, man, that they couldn't defend. It just seems like the linebackers are lost. Chip Kelly certainly figured something out, and he just had his way with the LSU defense, and that is something that Coach O kind of had to answer for after this one.
Last year, obviously, you mentioned like miscommunications and things like that caused the defensive issues. Was it similar stuff tonight, or something different that you noticed on that side of the ball?
We had some similar stuff: crossing routes, missed assignments. Those things continue to haunt us and hurt us. We have to get them fixed. I thought that we did a pretty good job in camp of getting them fixed, but obviously we've got to look at what we're doing and still eliminate those crossing routes and those busting coverage and why we busted them. And then also eliminate having an open gap in the run defense. Now, whether we got knocked off the ball or it's an open gap, I need to look at it on film.
Judging from the running game, what you saw in preseason scrimmages, is this kind of what you maybe feared tonight would happen? I mean, you just didn't get nothing from the running game.
I agree. First of all, we got to be more diverse. We have to have multiple runs for multiple sets, which we didn't do tonight. We got to get that fixed. It's going to get fixed immediately. We got to be more physical at the point of attack. Neither of those things happened tonight, as far as what I could see. But again, I need to look at the film before I say anything about physicality, a point of attack. I just need to look at the film.
Ed, how do you explain losing the line of scrimmage on both sides against a team like UCLA that's really not known for playing physical football?
Yeah, well, first of all, they play physical football, and they've gotten a better offensive line. They got 2 good running backs that are very physical. So tonight they played physical football, but that doesn't mean that it's any excuse for not playing physical. We should have been better. We should have been better on both sides of the football, and we weren't.
All right, Shane. Yeah, and I forgot even, there's so many issues here. We forgot to even mention the damn LSU rushing attack. 25 carries, 48 yards, less than 2 yards. And again, you're going up against UCLA. I don't think there may not be a player on UCLA's roster that Coach O would take over somebody he's got on his roster. You know what I mean? So they've got to get this thing corrected here. And they've got 2 weeks to do it. They got 2 cupcakes upcoming. And, the only silver lining here, and it's not much of one, but hell, based on what we've seen from UCLA, maybe they're one of the better teams in the country because they have looked good the last the first 2 weeks of the season. But I know that's not going to make LSU fans too. That's not going to give them much joy thinking of that.
No, but I do think that was definitely maybe an advantage. The fact that they had the tune-up game against Hawaii before they played. So I don't want to play the blame game or anything like that, but there was some definite issues on there, and it was pointed out, a lot of communication breakdown. I don't know if we're in full-blown panic just yet as an LSU because they do have 2 cupcake games coming up, but my eyebrows are raised. I'm going to tell you right now, and that seat's getting a little warmer down there in Baton Rouge, Mike.
All right, Shane, let's skip it down. We got to keep this thing moving, but I thought the most entertaining game of the entire day, not sure everybody got to watch it here, but Mississippi State, man, ultimate comeback, beat Louisiana Tech 35-34, and it took the entire team to get it done. Mississippi State came out kind of red hot, jumped out to 14-0 lead, and then Louisiana Tech, my God, I believe they scored 34 consecutive points, put Mississippi State in a huge hole. I was counting this thing as a loss. I think many people were, but they all got sparked by just a kick return by Tulu Griffin, and Mississippi State dominated the fourth quarter, 21-3 final. Just in the fourth quarter, they had to block a field goal to get that win at the buzzer. But if you didn't watch this game, you might say, well, why the hell are you still high on Mississippi State when they're struggling against Louisiana Tech? A couple things here. Mississippi State was shooting itself in the foot. I believe they had 12 penalties in the game. They had 4 turnovers that were just killing them, including a pick 6. And I know some SEC fans may roll their eyes at this comment, but I didn't realize how good Louisiana Tech was. They got remember the law firm for Vanderbilt? He's their running back now. They got Balin Buchanan. He used to be at Tennessee. He was a starting defensive back. He's there. They had Means, former Tennessee receiver. He had a 70-yard touchdown. And then Austin Kendall, former Oklahoma quarterback. So, Skip Holtz, I didn't realize this either, but ESPN threw up a graphic. Top 10 winningest coaches all time active in college football right now. Skip Holtz is in there. So, he's got a solid program down there. And I think if nothing else, what you take away from this one, if you're a Mississippi State fan, is your team staring down an opening season loss that would have devastated your season. And instead of, folding, your team responded and, just played with their hair on fire and got the win in the season opener.
I ain't gonna lie, Mike. I gave up on them too. There for a minute, I was like, man, Mississippi State, they lost this one. I just and kind of piggybacking what you were talking about, it felt like La Tech had a couple like big play, big breaks. You think about that quarterback run, you think about that big pass they had down the sideline. It was just like big plays that they just barely got somebody out of place or out of line, and they were able to take advantage of it. And then when Mississippi State was going, like you said, it was the dumb penalties. There was that one time they were thinking about going for it on 4th down and, still in that momentum. And then all of a sudden we got a false start and we have to punt. It's just, it just felt like it was really sloppy. Something that you would expect coming out of the gates, for your first game. They're definitely going to have to work on some just simple fundamental things. I think this week, I think the film study is going to be a big one for them, and the communication, because Mississippi State has, because when they got their backs against the wall, man, they were able to move this ball, and they're going to be able to do that against a lot of SEC opponents. So I'm not ruling out Mississippi State as a contender in the West. I'm not. I'm just saying they're going to have to work harder than some of these teams to clean up some of these stupid mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I basically said that we'd tried every way known to man to lose it, and just for fun, let's try something different. Let's go ahead and do our job. Let's go ahead and make it look like Wednesday's practice, because we've got nothing to lose. Just do your job, do it as fast as you can, and then we got up on them. 2 touchdowns. We felt like, well, this is going to be easy. And so then I think there's some of those guys out there that took their foot off the throttle and, thought they'd start some screwy victory lap or something stupid like that, which can you imagine doing that against La Tech, a team that dumps players in the NFL every year and has upset team after team after team, one after the next, and is one of the most brutal teams on earth to play over history.
Coach, what can you say about the resiliency of a young quarterback like Will Rogers to have a tough second and third quarter, but to pick himself off the ground and have that kind of performance?
Well, I thought that was good. He had some help too. I think in that third, I think he held the ball. Then I think our offensive line got pushed around. I think their 3 would shove around our 5 and steal their lunch money. And then finally, after they didn't have enough lunch money, they got hungry, so they decided to play. And then, and then Will figured, well, I better hurry and pick it up a little bit. And then, I don't know, we got in a rhythm, and that's the key. I mean, when you're playing with all 11, you get in a rhythm. If you play with 8 or 9, it's sporadic, because you don't know what part's going to blow. And so then, you get going, and then all of a sudden, something bad happens. So,
Coach, after they took a 20-point lead is when Tulu had that 70-yard return and kind of sparked. How big of a spark in your mind was that for this team?
I thought it was huge, but the thing is that was a full unit deal. I mean, because there were some great blocks on that. I mean, great blocks to the point I'm a little curious who missed their block that he didn't score, But no, I mean, but as it's going down the field, I saw a number of great key blocks. I mean, because Tulu's not going any further than he had earlier in the game if we're not blocking like we are on that play. And we blocked really well because I didn't see any of their guys really out of position. I mean, their coaches might have different ideas, but it looked to me like we executed the return really well, and there were a lot of blocks involved in that. There were a lot of unsung heroes on that, and Tulu gets the credit for the return, but there are a lot of unsung heroes in the middle of that deal.
All right, Jay, next let's kick it down to College Station, where Texas A&M beat the hell out of Kent State 41-10. Big win here for the Aggies and Haynes King debut as a starting quarterback. And, I thought the most promising thing I saw from this one, Haynes King, he had some issues here in this game. 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, I should say. One of them not his fault, tipped pass and everything. But when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions, Shane, and you beat the hell out of an opponent, even if they're not, a match for you at all, you win by 31 points. I think that's a hell of a sign for the Aggies, and the defense was not solid in this game. Make no mistake. I mean, they I was thinking maybe a shutout type game here, but Kent State did have some success here. What was your main takeaway from this one?
Well, the main takeaway was, damn, what about them fans? I don't think anybody was as excited about college football as the 12th man down there. Those guys were repping and looking good. I just thought that was obviously a factor. My first impression, though, was the sluggish start. I'm looking at a 7-point game at halftime. I'm a little frustrated. We can't have that. They did redeem themselves in the second half, but how much of that was just competitive depth and how much of that was actual fixing some of the mistakes you made in the first half? So, and I know, listen, listen, Mike, it was a hell of a victory. It turned out just the way you want, but yeah, the thing that frustrates me with Texas A&M is they cannot afford to mess around. I mean, I'm telling you like it is. After seeing this Clemson thing, they're going to be in the playoffs. Okay, probably at Ohio State. Hell, if Oklahoma, I don't know, they may, unless they play Tulane again. We don't know. We don't know how the playoffs are going to play out. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be really hard to get more than one-loss team into the playoffs. And I'm not saying Texas A&M is going to be a one-loss team, but they're definitely on the fringe of one of these programs that are going to actually have the ability to get there. And so you got to come out, man, and you just got to rip it every game. Kent State, this should have been a 3-point touchdown lead, 4-score touchdown lead at halftime easily, but it was a little sluggish. But again, I get it. It's the start of the season. We got a brand new quarterback. We're working out some stuff, but I don't know. I thought for sure, worst case scenario, you can lean on those big uglies up front in that running game that you have, and you should have been able to have a 4-score lead at half.
Well, let's kick it over to Jimbo. Shane talked about the debut of King at quarterback and Leon O'Neal's huge pick six that really bust this thing wide open.
Haynes throwing 33 passes. Did you come in wanting in a game plan to give him a lot of work?
We're going to be a balanced team. We're coming to slinging. We ain't coming there to run it. We're going to make big plays. We got guys and get it down the field, and we got to be able to throw the football, and we got to be able to run the football. And I was very proud. Like I said, what I was happy about with him in the game, we had some mistakes right there, and the ball turned over. His mentality didn't change. He stayed right in the game, making decisions, making calls, going right at it. And that was, for a young guy, sometimes that gets very tough, especially when you first start, and really made some nice plays. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to sling the ball.
Following King's 14-yard scramble in the second quarter, some Aggies took to Twitter and described him as Haynes football. How does that make you feel, and what was going through your mind after that play?
I'll tell you what now. I will say that he was electric with his legs for the most part, and he did a good job, in that, making plays, keeping his eyes up, scrambling. I mean, it's fun. I mean, those things, you can say coaching all you want, but, man, those guys are the ones that separate the game and make things really fun. And when you can do things like that, that's what you got to do to get to that next level and play in those big games and win big games and, because things break down sometimes. Those guys can ad-lib and do that. Very proud. Every time he did that, something really good came out of it.
Off the top of your head, evaluation of Haynes in his first.
Thought he played really well. Thought he overcame adversity. Thought he made plays when he had to. Outstanding on third down. The tip ball they had in the third quarter on the crazy. The guy's wide open. He makes it. The D lineman throws his hand up at the end and tips, and still he got to find a way to get it over. But he's making the right throw to the right guy, right on the money. The tip ball, we're throwing it to the crosser. The tight end thinks it's him. He reaches up, hits it with his hand, deflects it back. And the other one should have worked the other side probably, but. The guy's 9 of 13 on third down. He's 21 out of 33. He scored his touchdowns, and he overcame things. And that's the way you measure players, I do. When things ain't all perfect, and your first time out there, man, you could gain a lot of doubt on yourself. He didn't. And the things he created with his legs, the plays he created, he had to create a big drive. The first half, you remember, on the 3rd and 4, we get the first down to take us down to 4, and we get the holding call. So, I mean, there are a lot of things to clean up without a doubt. We'll clean those up, but there's still a lot of big plays there. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of big plays and a lot of potential to be right there. And I thought he handled the adversity extremely well. No demeanor didn't change. Kept calling the plays. He's still throwing that ball right between them hashes. A lot of times, them young guys, when they get those picks, they don't want to go back in the middle of that field. They don't go back in that maze. Doesn't bother him. He's a competitor, man.
To go back to Leon, whenever you have someone with that kind of energy and excitement and to make plays like that, how much of a boost does that just give to your whole team?
Oh, he's an energizer bunny. But that's why I say you got to have that. You got to have that guy that's always keeping guys going, and it's a big part of it, man. Energy, because listen, there's ups and downs of the game. You got to play that next play, and you get down, you find that guy that's got that energy that you feed off of, and that's very critical. That's as critical as the plays he makes.
All right, Shane, and one final thing on A&M that I thought was pretty impressive, really spreading the wealth. We've talked on and on all offseason about all the weapons the Aggies have. Devon Awchain, 124 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. That's outstanding. Isaiah Spiller, 113 rushing. And then Aniyah Smith, 8 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. And that's not even before you get to Caleb Chapman. Great to see him back. He had a 53-yard catch. But so many weapons. Hell, they didn't even need Jalen Weidemeyer in this one. 4 catches, 36 yards. But the wealth of weapons around King And like you said, I see what you're saying, a little frustration here, but I just think that, this is part of the process, man. You got a new quarterback, first time starting. You obviously got to clean that up. But once you get into SEC play, with all these tools, as long as they're not turning the ball over, they're going to be able to compete with anybody I saw this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I do too, man. And trust me, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer by no means. And the worst is when I hear people say, there's no such thing as an ugly win. Yeah, there is. I'm telling you right now, there was a couple of ugly wins last year, and that's the reason that Texas A&M didn't go to the college football playoffs. And I don't want to see that play out again. Don't get conservative. Just get out there and kick ass. When you're going against an inferior opponent, there's no reason there should be a ball game at halftime. This thing should have been, it should have been opened up a lot sooner. So I get it. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. I know it's week one, new quarterback, all that, but I don't want Texas A&M to take their foot off the gas because they can't.
Yeah, well, speaking of winning ugly, Shane, let's kick it on down to Fayetteville, where, my goodness, I was scared to death here. I was hyping up the Hogs all off season. Now, they do get the win 38-17, but they were losing at halftime 10-7 to Rice of all teams. My God. I mean, they were throwing out linebackers left and right. That certainly didn't help. Grant Morgan got thrown out for targeting. Bumper Pool got thrown out for targeting. Yeah. My God. I mean, targeting in Arkansas, for some reason, they can't go a game without the refs flagging them 20 times for targeting. But and KJ Jefferson, man, I've been hyping him up. Not his best game. But I think the fact that you come out here, and again, this is something we talked about. We didn't think it would be an issue, but we noted it several times. Overlooking Rice for Texas. I'm not necessarily saying that's what happened, but clearly they were not ready to come out the gate in the first half. They were very sloppy. But the fact that, and I know it's Rice, so I'm not sitting here trying to pump too much smoke up Arkansas, but if you play this poorly and you win by 21 and you break Cousin Shane's lock of the week curse, I mean, I think there's a lot to be happy about, just given the fact that how strong you finished and dominate the second half.
Mike, I'll let you guess. Who's my favorite player in the SEC right now?
I would have to say Jalen Catalon.
Yeah, I could kiss him on the mouth, Mike. I'm telling you, I was freaking out, and there was, a lot of folks online, saying, "Hey, Shane, you can never bet on Arkansas again. You've got your one lock done. Never touch him." Man, this thing came down to the damn wire as far as gambling. Now, there was a moment I actually thought this was going to be a ball game. I thought there for a moment that Rice actually had a chance, and I hated that I was saying that to myself, but I don't know, man. These guys, they rallied, and that's one thing I like about Arkansas is just these guys they do things as a team. It feels like the team gets stronger, not individuals getting stronger. The whole group just said, "Hey, enough's enough. Let's put these guys away and let's focus on next week." And I think that's what they got caught in, a little bit of a trap game. But when they started playing some damn football, some Razorback football, they just manhandled Rice. And thank God they decided to score a touchdown there at the last. I'd like to thank Sam for not taking a knee, even though the announcers were trying to get him to.
All right, Shane, let's kick it over to Sam Pittman real quick. His comments after the game and what he his message to the team at halftime.
Sam, on the special teams, you still had some hiccups there in the first half. You had the block punt, the fumble on the kickoff. Of course, Austin Nix got it, so it didn't hurt you that bad. But just what did you think about the special teams? Did you see that coming? I mean,
Well, I told I said, Rice is kicking our butt in special teams. They were more urgent than us. They blocked a punt on us. We just missed a block on the outside. I mean, that's all it was. And but I mean, people go through games and don't get punch blocked, and we need to be those people. And we need to hold on to the ball when we return it, and all those things. There's a lot of bad stuff out there that look like, as a head coach, that it wasn't a very well coached football team, and that's me. That is nobody else. That's me. and we'll get better. But I was so proud that we came back in the second half.
Coach, what was the message to the team at halftime?
We just made a lot of mistakes. The one thing I learned a long time ago is you got to figure out what's really the problem, and really how big is the climb, because we as coaches, we can bury these guys and you're down 3 to a team that you're supposed to beat, and you can bury them. Well, the bottom line is you score a touchdown and you're ahead. You know what I mean? So we talked a lot about adjustments from our coaching staff. I mean, you got to look at a mirror on things going wrong. You can't just go, well, he dropped a pass, he did this, he did that. That's coaching. I mean, we talked about run the ball up the gut. And we were trying to get the ball outside too much. They had more speed, not size. And we were running the ball outside too much. So we talked about adjusting that, run the ball right at them, get KJ involved in the run game. And that's what we did. And our defense continued. They had the one bad play there, left the guy uncovered on the post route. But other than that, I thought they played really well. We had to get better on defense too now. But at least at the end of the game, we finished the game. And I mean, you can't play an entire game and only talk about the first half. You know what I'm saying? We did win 38-17. There are some good things to build on too. And we'll do both of those.
All right, Shane, next on the docket, man, huge performance here for Kentucky. We're waiting to see this Will Levis, Liam Cohen offense, and needless to say, they lived up to the hype in a big way, 45-10. I know it was just over Louisiana Monroe, so we're trying not to get too excited over that. But hell, we talk about slow starts here. This was another one that Kentucky got off to a slow start. Levis threw an interception right out the gate, and then you were thinking, "Oh my God, are we buying into the hype again with the Wildcats?" Too early, no sir, we are not, because did he respond? Will Levis, 367 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Wandale Robinson lived up to the hype. And hell, we're not even talking about Chris Rodriguez. He had 125 and a touchdown. So now they've got the balanced offense they've been seeking for years and years and years. And now I think, again, I'm not trying to totally go overboard here, but I think they're a legitimate SEC East contender now.
You think? I thought they looked great, man. Now, as a Tennessee Vol fan, I'm not too excited about their new transfers, but man, they were hitting on all cylinders, brother. And they could get real dangerous. Because here's what I love about Kentucky: that big offensive line. That if they need a yard, they can get dirty. You know what I'm saying? They can get their feet in the ground, their hands in the ground. They can. It's nothing. And then you got Rodriguez back there. It's nothing for him to get 2 or 3 yards if they need it. And then on the flip side, they got a quarterback that can air it 50 yards down the field, and they got receivers that can actually catch it. So
lost in all this Kentucky offensive hype. Hell, the defense, Shane. I mean, they 17 rushing yards allowed, 87 yards total allowed. And I know ULM's not the greatest of opponents here, but my God, just suffocated them all day long. And this has got me more fired up for Kentucky football than I have been here for a while.
As opposed to just going out there and cruising for an entire opener?
I think so. And I think, none of us want that. We work all year long, and then come out and start down 7-0. And it just pisses you off, but you just regroup. And truly, I have to practice what I preach as well. Go on to the next play. It is what it is. I have a lot of confidence that we would. And, he was hyped up and he throws the ball hard, as you could see today. You could see all that he's been advertised for with his arm strength. And so it was good to go through adversity, and same defensively. Well, not really. That just pisses me off. Yeah.
What did you think of the downfield passing attack? You've seen it in practice, but to see it against somebody else and to see it be that successful.
Obviously, what I've been looking for, and very, very happy about that. And I talked a lot about it. in the spring, that we were getting the ball completed down the field. And no, Will wasn't here, but just the offense in general and the receivers gaining some confidence. We built on that this summer, and it was great to see him throw for, just complete the ball, just the basics, making the routine. We still have a lot of work to do with making the routine look routine. We have some pitch and catches out there that we're fighting a little bit, but we'll continue to get better.
All right, next on the docket, Shade. I thought this was another back and forth one here. Missouri, without Jim McElwain, he did not attend the game. Missouri beats Central Michigan 34-24. A lot to like with Missouri. They came right out the gate, punched them right in the mouth. It took them 2 plays to go 75 yards, I believe it was, score a touchdown. I was thinking, my God, I look like an idiot for questioning Missouri all offseason. But then, I don't know, Central Michigan just hung in there all game long. And, most troubling thing for me, they were able to kind of run at will on Missouri. Now, that's not to say Missouri's defense was bad, because they were incredibly disruptive. Let's see, 9 sacks. My God, 9 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, an interception, forced 2 turnovers here in the game. So that's kind of what the Missouri defense, I think, is going to be this season in the SEC, just trying to force turnovers, a bend but don't break unit. And that certainly paid off here in the opener. Now they've got a huge matchup next weekend with Kentucky. What was your thoughts on Missouri?
Yeah, Beatty just got another touchdown, didn't he? I mean, if you want to talk about silver lining, as hell, they got the best running back in the country, it looks like, if you're looking at stats. But I'm with you. This was similar to that Mississippi State game. It just felt like there was just a couple of dumb bonehead mistakes that extended drives and made them finish theirs quicker than they wanted to. So I'm sure this is one of those that we look at, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, and if they can clean up some of these boneheaded mistakes that they made week 1, I still am high on the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, and one guy that really made an impact was transfer linebacker Blaze Aldridge. Eli Drakowitz loved him some Blaze Aldridge after this one.
He had a pretty good day.
Obviously, you thought Blaze Aldridge could come in and help based on what you saw in his film at Rice. Did you expect him to make this kind of an impact this quickly?
You seen his hair? If you're going to wear hair like that, you better be a player. So, yeah, I kind of expected it. I don't know if I expected 3.5 sacks, but he's a good player.
How about just the overall defense?
Yeah.
Even when they didn't get sacks, they were putting a lot of pressure on the
Yeah. No, I think Steve did a nice job there. Obviously, got beat a few times, but we made up for it on sacks and turnovers, and that's kind of the name of the game for us defensively, is we got to force turnovers and negative yardage plays. There's going to be a lot of things on tape we want to fix, starting with some tackling issues and gap integrity issues in the run game, but we'll get it fixed.
All right, Shane, next let's kick it down to Florida, where the Gators, my lock of the week, they failed me on this one, Shane. This was, man, I was feeling great about it, but a couple of goal line failures. Of course, Gators cruised in this one. There was no issues, but kind of the biggest issue coming out of, if you want to call it an issue, was just the fact that Emory Jones, I don't want to say he looked bad, but, man, so much hype around AR-15, Anthony Richardson, the backup. He got plenty of run, and, Dan Mullen, given the fact, all his history coaching quarterbacks, we can't question him, but just by the naked eye, I mean, it certainly looks like Richardson is the spark for that team in Florida's dominance, 35-14 win with FAU scoring 14 points late. But what do you make of this kind of back and forth here? Now there's questions about Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson down in Gainesville.
Well, if anybody can sort it out, I know it's going to be Dan, and that's probably why it's taken this long to name Emory the starter. So don't be surprised if we don't see a little bit more flip-flop in here, because like you said, when he was out there, it just felt like the thing was moving a little bit better. So I don't know if this was just a week 1 thing or if this is going to be a new trend. But I will tell you, it's been a while since we've seen 2 quarterbacks. In fact, I think the Florida Gators were the last one to pull it off. But I don't – it's usually not successful. So I hope they decide sooner than later.
Yeah, and again, this is something that we credit Dan Mullen for in the offseason, just being flexible and changing his system to fit his players. And we all know last season how dynamic they were in the passing game with Pitts and Trask and Tony and Grimes and so many standouts. Now, of course, it's just 1 week, but hell, 46 rushes, Shane, 400 yards on the ground,
Jeez.
4 touchdowns, and that's, kind of only 153 passing yards, so, leaning towards the run here. But again, he does what his players can do. He doesn't ask them to go out there and be the next Kyle Trask, and I think that's what makes Dan Mullen such a great coach, is adapting to his players when so many coaches fail to do that. You know what?
Yeah, for sure.
Dan, tell me why I shouldn't be wondering about what's going on at quarterback after tonight's game.
Well, I think the plan was we were going to play both of them. We got Emory a series, or Anthony that series in the first half, and they wanted to get him another couple series in the second half. And I thought he did a good job. Missed some reads, a couple of reads out there. But I thought, it was good for him to get experience. It was great for Emory to get that experience as a starter right now for his first game out there. He missed some reads too, but I think you see both of them have the ability to make explosive plays. And, the nice thing is I'm pretty confident with both the quarterbacks. Obviously Emory's our starter, and we say, but we, as you get the experience, you roll the guys through. We did that tonight, and it was great to see them both make some really explosive plays. So, I think, what you said, I guess, was it your concern with them? I think our concern, we missed a couple of reads, and we missed some reads that we shouldn't miss, in a couple of checks. And, that type of deal is stuff that we got to get cleaned up and stuff that you haven't seen a ton in practice, but all of a sudden it's different, And, the difference between practice and a game, in practice, quarterback starts scrambling, we blow the play dead. Well, we saw tonight, those are big, explosive hit plays. In practice, though, you don't hit the quarterback and you get to see him, and they get used to kind of certain looks and making certain reads. Well, now you get into a game, you're playing a different defense. You got to be able to adjust and take what the defense gives you, and I think we missed some of those throws tonight.
400 yards rushing, Dan. Are you guys now a power rushing team? You want to go from the best passing team in the country to the best rushing team?
I've done it before. We're going to do what our guys do well. It's just kind of, that's what it is. Honestly, I'd love to continue to be balanced. Let me just see here. Yeah, we ran it a little bit more than we threw it today, 46 runs, 35 passes. But some of those were scrambles too, you know what I mean? And I think, so I think you're able to stay balanced, but our explosive plays came on the ground tonight. And so we got to look at that a little bit. Are we taking the shots we need down the field to be explosive in the pass game as well? But like I said, we're going to do what we're going to do. If we got to lead the nation in rushing, we'll do that. Last year, we lead it in passing. Do what our guys do well.
Because a lot of fans are going to look at how Anthony played
and
say, why isn't he the starter? So why are you so confident that Emory is obviously the starter?
Just decision making and getting us through every part of the game. Obviously. When you look at what happened and what Anthony coming in and did some nice things, but, you got to run the whole offense, and so, I think, and Anthony's really growing with that and growing with situations. So I think he'll continue to grow with situations as we move forward. And Emory's going to continue to grow, so.
All right, the big debut, Shade, here. All of the plays, you thought I was crazy, I think, on the show when I said 56-0. That's about what it was, because Auburn whooped the hell out of Akron, 60-10. Could have been 60-0. Bo Nix, man, he looked like a Heisman candidate. You know what? That gets this Akron team 20-22, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. But the guy that really stood out, I know Bo Nix was outstanding, but my God, Tank Bigsby. 13 carries, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. My man averaged 9.2 yards an attempt. Sean Shivers averaged 12 yards an attempt. Jaquez Hunter, 12 yards attempt. I mean, they just did whatever the hell they wanted to Akron. This is kind of what I saw coming. But, great start here for the Auburn Tigers. They were able to get the backups in essentially the entire second half. And this is what we were calling for, Shane, with new coaches, so many transfers, a lot of moving pieces here to work out for the Tigers before they head to Penn State week 3. This was just a perfect situation where you get even all the backups, plenty of good experience in the opening weekend of the season. You know what? Last thing here I got on Auburn, Shane, I just wanted to make this note because I know some people will say, well, hell, they're just playing Akron. Well, we're going here around the league here, all across the SEC, but not everyone, but, vast majority of teams started slow. And, with remember the COVID issues and all the transfers and all that's going on with Auburn, let's give this coaching staff a ton of credit. They are night and day different personnel-wise and what they're asking these players to do from the Gus Malzahn era, and it did not show at all. So I think it's a tremendous sign for the Tigers right out the gate before the competition gets a lot stiffer.
Yeah, man. And, Mike, I'm going to tell you, man, one of the things that I loved most about this Auburn game was just the players after. I mean, listen to this.
Coach Houston!
And then you can do your little thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly bought in, and it showed on the field. You know what?
Hell yeah, man. I love that. That's the one thing I love. I think we should do that. If we could find the victory of all of them, man. I just love hearing the locker room after the fact. Those kids are so pumped up. And this is one of those that you kind of wondered what the locker room looked like after some of these guys transferred out. Hell, it sounds like they all bought in. So it's just good to hear.
All right, speaking of kind of the same thing here, let's kick it all down to Columbia, where, my goodness, Shane, South Carolina 46, Eastern Illinois 0, and those Gamecocks are feeling great. They're feeling good. They're riding high. We're one of the best teams in the SEC East now. I mean, they are flying high over there. Zeb Nolan, 4 touchdowns. I'm calling him Heisman Zeb until further notice. And, hell, we didn't even get Marshawn Lloyd really going here, only 55 yards, but just completely dominated an overmatched Eastern Illinois team. And this is what you want because, there's one other game we got to get to. And if you're not prepared, if you're not ready, things can go disastrous here in a hurry. And, let's credit everybody there with the Gamecock program for taking care of business and really, making quick work of Eastern Illinois, don't you think?
Dude, South Carolina, I know inferior opponent, but it was good for them, man. The fan base needed it. And what about the tight end score right out of the gate? It was like Beamer looked up. See, we love tight ends here.
He called it. He called it at SEC Media Days, and he followed through with it with the Nick Muse scoring the first touchdown. I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, Debbie Downer over here, Shane, let's kick it down to Nashville. I mean, this sums up what Clark Lea's got to work with here. 23-3, ETSU comes into Nashville, leaves with a 20-point victory. And, I mean, my God, Shane, this was as bad as it gets, the worst part of the whole damn game. Vanderbilt, marching in the second half, trying to make this a contest. They're about to score a touchdown. What happens? They throw an interception that's returned 99 yards for a touchdown. But ETSU was showboating so much during the return that the turnovers, still stood, but not the touchdown. So it's like, my God, like even ETSU's, showboating you on your own home field. And, I don't want to go overboard here. I don't want to, we're not throwing Clark Lea out after one game, but I think it just goes to show, the job that he's got. And for all the offseason talk, Shane, of like Tennessee and South Carolina having all these transfers out and it's going to be doom and gloom. Vanderbilt had that many, but they had it in the middle of damn last season. And I don't know why people overlooked that or didn't talk about it, but I mean, it's just as bad, if not worse, there for the Commodores. And, of course, now we get to see that played out on the field.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, we don't want to spend too much time because it does suck. It sucks to know that there's a team in our conference that's really struggling, but they're not going to struggle forever, Mike. You know, we talked about this going into this game. What Vanderbilt has to do is they have to be efficient, man. These guys have to work harder in their playbooks. They got to work harder in film study so that they come out their flawless football. Now, even if they have a flawless game against an SEC opponent, they're probably still going to be an underdog. But at least you could see with ETSU, this is a team that they could have beat if they would have came out and played clean football. They just didn't. They made too many mistakes, and unfortunately, ETSU capitalized on them.
All right, Shane, while we just recapped all those games, we still got Ole Miss, Louisville. We'll get to that in just a minute here, Monday night. But wanted to run down some opening lines here for week 2. Some of these I think are pretty surprising here.
Okay.
I'm just going to go down the list here. Florida at USF, South Florida. Gators favored by 29 points. Ooh, blowout city. Now, here you go, Shane. Here's the one. Pitt at Tennessee. Pitt favored by 1.5 points in Neyland Stadium. What? This one's got South Carolina fans fired up. South Carolina at Eastern Carolina. South Carolina opened as a slight favorite. That thing has kicked all the way to East Carolina, favored by 4.
What?
Against the Gamecocks. It is at East Carolina, but that's shocking to me. There must be some heavy action on the Pirates. And hell, the Pirates, when I saw that, I was like, well, hell, they must have looked damn good week 1. Who'd they play? They lost to Appy State by double digits. So I have no idea what's up with that.
They must have guarded tight ends well or something. I don't know.
UAB at Georgia. Georgia, 27-point favorite. So that's not surprising there. Of course, we got to see if Georgia can score 27. Texas A&M versus Colorado. This game's in Denver. The Aggies, this one is surprising. Aggies favored by just 16 points. Ooh, we might have to bet on that one, Shane. NC State at Mississippi State. And I caught some of the NC State. They played on Thursday. Yeah. I think they won 38-0. So they look pretty stout. But this game's a pick'em in Starkville. So that's interesting. Texas at Arkansas. Ooh, Longhorns favored by 6. That's a mistake. Vanderbilt at Colorado State. This is tough. Colorado State favored by 5 at home over the Commodores. And they lost by like 40. Colorado State did.
Jeez.
And then the big one here, Shane, in the SEC. Missouri at Kentucky. You want to guess this line real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to go Kentucky 4.
You were close. Kentucky -5.
Okay.
So we've got some nice matchups here week 2 to think about.
Hell yeah, man. I like that. Of course, some of these, I'm kind of curious how they change throughout the week. So if you think about betting, maybe if you put it in now, because we saw a couple of lines shift last week. So,
all right, last thing, Shade, real quick. Game tonight. We all know who we're going to be picking, but Ole Miss favored by 10 over Louisville in Atlanta. I like the Rebels. Hell, we didn't even mention Lane Kiffin's got the COVID. He's not at the game. Don't even need him for this one. I'm taking Ole Miss to whoop up on them. I'll probably go 45-28. What about you?
I'm going to go 52-21. I think this is
shit.
Yeah, Matt, expect a lot of offense, man. That's what I'm thinking. I think old Lane Train, even though he's Skyping it, he's still going to get some points in.
All right, Shane. Well, hell, it's been a great weekend, first opening weekend here outside of Vanderbilt and LSU fans, but they'll bounce back. But, man, I just cannot wait for this week 2. And, we're going to have so much coverage here the rest of the week. I really do appreciate you hopping on the show. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. I'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Hang in there, LSU. You control your destiny. Just win out. Vandy, come on. It's Vandy. You guys got to rebuild. Just hang in there, love on each other, and have fun in Nashville.